Terry Fox was born in Winnipeg, Canada, in 1958, the second of 4 children in a hard-working family. From an early age, Terry was filled with energy, determination, and a quiet grit that made him stand out. He wasn't the tallest kid, nor the strongest, but he had something more important: perseverance. When the Fox family moved to British Columbia, Terry discovered his love for sports. He played basketball, soccer, and especially loved running. Coaches quickly noticed that while Terry didn't have natural talent, he had unmatched commitment. If others practiced for 1 hour, he practiced for 2. If others gave up, he kept going. In middle school, when Terry tried out for the basketball team, he was initially told he was too small. Instead of quitting, he spent the entire summer practicing shot after shot, running drills until his hands blistered. By the next season, not only did he make the team, but he became one of its strongest players. That was Terry's way: persistence over talent. He didn't believe in shortcuts. He believed in working harder than anyone else in the room. His friends admired him, his teachers respected him, and his family adored him for his endless drive and compassion. By the time he reached high school, Terry had developed a particular love for running long distances. He wasn't the fastest runner, but his stamina and sheer determination made him powerful. No matter how exhausted he felt, Terry had an unshakable ability to keep pushing forward. Looking back, it was almost as if life was training him for something greater, something far beyond schoolyard competitions and basketball courts. At 18, just as Terry was entering adulthood, his life took a devastating turn. After months of nagging pain in his right knee, doctors delivered news that would change everything. Terry had osteogenic sarcoma, a rare and aggressive form of bone cancer. The diagnosis shattered him. Within weeks, he was told that his right leg would have to be amputated above the knee to save his life. For an athlete who had built his identity on running, movement, and strength, the news felt like the end of everything he loved. On March 9, 1977, Terry underwent surgery. His right leg was removed, replaced with a heavy, awkward prosthetic. The physical pain was excruciating, but the emotional pain cut deeper. He struggled to imagine a future where he could play basketball, run, or live the active life he once knew. During his months in the cancer ward, Terry saw something that changed him forever. He watched young children, some just toddlers, undergoing painful treatments. He saw their courage, their smiles in the face of unbearable suffering. And he realized something: if they could face this battle with such strength, so could he. Terry refused to let cancer defeat his spirit. He taught himself to walk with his prosthetic leg, then to run. At first it was clumsy, painful, and slow. But day by day, he grew stronger. What others saw as impossible, Terry saw as a challenge. In those long hospital days, something powerful began to take root inside him, an idea that would one day inspire the entire world. During his recovery, Terry read an article about Dick Traum, the first amputee to complete the New York City Marathon. That story lit a fire inside him. If Dick could do it, why couldn't he? Why couldn't Terry not only run a marathon but do something even bigger, something that could help all those children he had seen suffering in the hospital? That's when the idea of the Marathon of Hope was born. Terry decided he would run across the entire country of Canada, from the Atlantic Ocean in the east to the Pacific in the west. He would run to raise money for cancer research, so that one day no child, no family, would have to suffer as he and so many others had. It sounded impossible. Terry would be running with one prosthetic leg, covering marathon-length distances every day, across mountains, prairies, cities, and endless highways. But Terry didn't see the impossibility. He only saw the mission. He began training in secret. Every morning at dawn, he ran first 1 mile, then 2, then 5, then 10. The pain was immense. His prosthetic leg caused blisters and bleeding. His gait was uneven, forcing his body to absorb brutal strain. But Terry kept going. Step by step, day by day, he grew stronger. Friends doubted him. Doctors worried. Even his family feared he was pushing himself too hard. But Terry's vision was clear: he wasn't running for himself. He was running for every cancer patient who needed hope. By 1979, Terry officially announced his plan. He would begin the Marathon of Hope in April 1980, dipping his artificial leg in the Atlantic Ocean and running westward, one painful step at a time, until he reached the Pacific. The dream was set. The world just didn't know yet how deeply it was about to be changed. On April 12, 1980, in St. John's, Newfoundland, the eastern tip of Canada, Terry Fox stood at the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. The morning was cold, the waves fierce. With cameras clicking and a handful of supporters gathered, Terry dipped his artificial leg into the icy waters. It was a symbolic gesture. He would now run across the second largest country in the world, step by step, until his other foot touched the Pacific. The marathon of hope had begun. Terry set out on the Trans-Canada Highway, running in his distinctive rhythm: hop, step, hop. Each stride was uneven, each landing painful. His prosthetic leg clunked against the asphalt, sending shocks of pain up his body. But Terry ignored it. His mission was greater than his pain. At first, few noticed. The local newspapers covered his story, but across the country, people were skeptical. A young man with one leg running across Canada? It sounded like a dream destined to collapse. But Terry didn't care about doubters. He cared about every dollar raised for cancer research, every person inspired to believe in hope. Day after day, he ran a marathon, 26 miles, through wind, rain, and snow. While most people could not imagine running one marathon in their lifetime, Terry was running one every single day, on one good leg and one prosthetic. The journey had begun, and though the world wasn't yet watching, Terry Fox was already writing history with every painful step. The road was merciless. Terry ran through freezing rain, blistering sun, and relentless wind. Trucks roared past, blasting him with dirt and exhaust. His prosthetic leg often chafed until his skin bled. Some mornings, the pain was so severe he could barely stand. But he always found a way to rise, to put one foot forward, to keep running. He woke before dawn, wrapped his leg in bandages, and set out before most of the country was even awake. By the time others were eating breakfast, Terry had already run 10 miles. By lunch, he had covered 20. By evening, he had finished another marathon. There were moments of crushing loneliness, long stretches of empty highway with nothing but his thoughts, the rhythmic thud of his prosthetic leg, and the ache of his body. He missed home, his family, the comfort of normal life. But he pushed those feelings aside. He wasn't running for himself. He was running for the children he had seen in the hospital. He was running for hope. Slowly, word began to spread. People came out of their houses to cheer him on. Small donations trickled in: coins, bills, anything they could give. Terry stored them in a coffee can, laughing at the modest start but believing in the bigger picture. His dream was to raise $1 for every Canadian citizen, $24 million. It seemed impossible. But then again, so did the run itself. By the time Terry reached the Maritimes, his determination had begun to capture the nation's imagination. Crowds gathered at the side of the road to clap and shout encouragement. Children ran alongside him for a few steps. Cancer survivors hugged him with tears in their eyes. The media picked up his story, and suddenly, Terry Fox was no longer just a young man running alone. He was becoming a symbol, a living reminder that one person's courage could ignite a movement. Donations surged. People held community events to raise money for the Marathon of Hope. Schools collected coins. Businesses pledged support. In small towns and big cities alike, Canadians began to rally behind him. But for Terry, the attention didn't matter. He wasn't in it for fame. He rarely smiled for cameras, never exaggerated his struggle, and always redirected the spotlight toward the cause: cancer research. "I'm not a dreamer," he once said. "I'm not doing this for the glory. I'm doing it because we have to find a cure for cancer. And it's got to happen now." By the time he reached Ontario, thousands lined the streets to welcome him. The once doubted young man with one leg had now become a hero. Yet even as the nation embraced him, Terry's body was beginning to show signs of strain. The pain was intensifying. The coughs were growing deeper. But Terry refused to stop. The Marathon of Hope was no longer just his dream, it had become Canada's. By the time Terry Fox reached Ontario, the Marathon of Hope had transformed from a quiet, lonely journey into a national phenomenon. Thousands gathered along highways, waving Canadian flags, holding signs that read "Go Terry" and chanting his name as he passed. Children sprinted beside him for a few steps before falling back, grinning as if they had just run alongside a legend. News outlets covered his every stride. Television cameras followed him, broadcasting images of his determined face, sweat dripping, prosthetic leg pounding against the pavement in that steady, uneven rhythm: hop, step, hop. Canadians across the country watched in awe. They were no longer just donors, they were believers. In Ottawa, Terry was invited to Parliament Hill, where the Prime Minister himself shook his hand. In Toronto, tens of thousands lined the streets to cheer him on as if he were a rock star. He was even asked to throw the first pitch at a Blue Jays game, receiving a standing ovation that shook the stadium. And yet, through it all, Terry remained humble. He never sought fame, never craved glory. Whenever microphones were thrust in his face, he shifted attention back to the mission: raising money for cancer research. "Even if I don't finish, we need others to continue," he said, his voice steady with conviction. For Canadians, Terry Fox had become more than an athlete. He was the embodiment of courage, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of hope. By late summer of 1980, Terry had been running for more than 4 months. He had covered 5,373 kilometers, an average of 26 miles every single day, through wind, rain, and exhaustion. But while his spirit burned bright, his body was quietly breaking down. He began to feel sharp pains in his chest. His coughs grew harsher, deeper. At first, he dismissed them. Pain was nothing new to him. But soon, the discomfort became impossible to ignore. One September morning, just outside Thunder Bay, Ontario, Terry was forced to stop mid-run. Gasping for air, he was rushed to the hospital. The news was devastating. The cancer had returned. This time, it had spread to his lungs. Doctors told him he could not continue. The marathon of hope, his mission, his dream, had to end. When Terry faced the press, his voice trembled, but his message was clear: "I'm going to fight. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I want them to carry on what I started." His run had ended, but his dream was still alive. Terry returned home for treatment, undergoing chemotherapy as the nation prayed for a miracle. Canadians from coast to coast sent letters, flowers, and donations. His courage had united the country in a way few things ever had. On February 1, 1981, a telethon inspired by his Marathon of Hope raised an astonishing $24.17 million, the exact amount Terry had dreamed of, $1 for every Canadian citizen. Even though he could no longer run, his mission had already triumphed. But cancer showed no mercy. On June 28, 1981, just 1 month shy of his 23rd birthday, Terry Fox passed away. Canada was shattered. Flags flew at half-mast. Millions wept openly. The boy who had once been told his dreams were impossible had become a national hero, and now the country grieved his loss as if they had lost a brother, a son, a friend. His funeral was broadcast nationwide. World leaders paid tribute. But perhaps the most powerful tribute came from ordinary Canadians: children who vowed to keep running, families who pledged to keep giving, survivors who whispered thank you through their tears. Terry was gone, but his marathon of hope was far from over. More than 4 decades later, Terry Fox's legacy burns brighter than ever. Each year, millions of people in over 60 countries participate in the Terry Fox Run, raising hundreds of millions of dollars for cancer research. His face has appeared on stamps, coins, and even the Canadian $1 bill. Schools, roads, and research centers bear his name. But beyond the monuments and money, Terry's true legacy lives in the spirit he awakened, the belief that one ordinary person, fueled by determination and compassion, can change the world. He never finished his run, but in a way, he didn't have to. Others picked up where he left off, carrying his torch forward, step by step, dollar by dollar. His dream didn't die with him, it grew, expanded, and continues to this day. Terry Fox showed us that courage isn't the absence of fear or pain, it's the decision to keep going anyway. He showed us that hope can outrun despair, that love for others can drive a person farther than their body should ever go. Every September, when children lace up their sneakers and adults pin Terry Fox bibs to their shirts, the sound of running footsteps echoes his memory. And with every step, the message is the same: Terry Fox may have stopped running, but the marathon of hope will never end.